The gun grabbers are going to hate this. In the month since the high school shooting in Parkland, Florida, American television screens have been images of angry teenagers demanding that grown ups do something about gun violence in the United States. But there's a huge part of the young adult population who aren't making it onto the mass media's television screens, but have evidently decided to do something about gun violence on their own arm themselves so they can be responsible for their own defense. According to the Bellevue, Washington-based Second Amendment Foundation, the organization has experienced a massive surge in people aged 18 to 20 joining or supporting the organization, a spike of almost 1,200%. In a news release, Foundation founder and executive vice president Alan Gottlieb attributed the spike to the fact that one of the most tangible results of the aftermath of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooting has been a new gun law in Florida that bans purchases of rifles by those under 21. We normally don't get that many members or donors in that age group, since the gun rights movement typically trends toward older Americans, Gottlieb said in the release, but the 18 to 20-year-olds have never been specifically targeted before, and they are obviously alarmed. This influx of young Americans into the gun rights movement is important, not just to respond to the current gun control threat, but as the movement has gotten older, it is encouraging to see so many young adults getting involved in support of Second Amendment rights. That's a side of the argument that isn't being pushed by the mainstream media. Obsessed with the angry young people of Parkland like the ubiquitous Douglas Sr. David Hogg, most reporters have ignored the constitutional question involved in gun control laws like Florida's. The Constitution states and the Supreme Court has affirmed that bearing arms is an individual right of American citizens. Florida's new law and the support it's getting from the liberal media make a mockery of that. If the gun grabbers are so careless about limiting the constitutional rights of those under 21, let's see how Democrats, and their teary-eyed pawns in Parkland, feel about getting rid of the 26th Amendment and keeping 18-year-old kids from voting. That's never going to happen, of course, but if it did, there might never be another Democrat elected to the White House. The Second Amendment Foundation isn't the only gun rights group reporting renewed interest since the country's latest bout of anti-gun insanity began, though. According to Time magazine, gun rights groups and shooting organizations have reported a rise in membership since the February 14 shootings in Parkland. The National Rifle Association keeps its membership information private, but Time reported that two sources familiar with the group's data said membership and donations have risen even as the NRA has been demonized by the mainstream media and Democrat Party. David Hogg and the other Parkland darlings have all done their share of attacking the NRA too. This bit on CNN on Monday was a good example, pretending to speak for all the nation's young people in wanting to dismantle a constitutionally guaranteed right. But the numbers of 18 to 20-year-olds contacting the Second Amendment Foundation tell a different story. The anti-gun campaign is blowing up in their faces while the media has paraded high school students to push a gun control agenda. The age group that is now being targeted by that effort is energizing, and showing that there is another side to this controversy, Gottlieb said. And it's a side the gun grabbers are going to hate.